We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for the Top Gun Sales Boot Camp training. We're doing some new testing. If you don't meet your goals, we tase you or pepper spray you or something like that. Kenny's going to be, that'll motivate somebody to go ahead and get her going. All right, Nora, what you got for today?
I got 58% yesterday.
You go, girl.
Right?
Jeepers. What was your secret?
I have no idea.
Anybody know what Nora's secret was?
Oh, listen to Mark.
No, that you're supposed to go ahead and say, yeah, listen to Mark. You're not supposed, okay, fine. I'll listen to Mark. Like, you're supposed to get excited about it. It's weird because everybody does this. Everybody experiences this at some point. And so, she got her own x-ray sale yesterday. Way to go, girl, on her own. Totally without me, just nailed it. First conversation with the guy, and his wife's as excited about it as he is. And so, good, strong action vision. Three action vision sales last week happened. So synergy, we've gone at times 9 months without an action vision sales. There's 3 in 1 week. So, when you look at this. This is the thing about owning your own company and sales is this is where it gets a little fun and dicey. So you have your marketing. We've talked about that. How do you stay consistent? And then you have pre-sales, and then you have the sale, and then you have servicing. And so when I was in the mortgage industry, I'd have been probably 26 years old, I'm guessing. And so, I had spent 2 years building up this sales training program that Citibank and Northern Trust came in and said it was the most advanced, disciplined sales training machine they'd seen anywhere in the country. And I was 26, 24 to 26. What did I know? But it's interesting because I did stuff then that I'm not doing now, which is testing, which we're getting into that. But anyways, and so I built this machine up. And I told the president and the owner of the company, Tony Davis, and then the vice president of operations. I was in charge of sales, marketing, pre-sales, and sales. So I was in charge of all three of these. She was in charge of servicing. She was VP of operations. And so I told the president and the vice president, I said, listen, you guys need to staff up your support team because my sales team is just going to kick you guys' butt. I mean, it's just going to kick you guys' butts. And they're like, no, it'll be fine. Da 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 da. I'm like, I'm just telling you guys, and man, I am not going to be a happy camper if my salespeople have to come in and help out with operations. They're like, no, it'll be fine. We'll take care of it. Who was right? Mark was right. Did they listen to me? They didn't listen to me. So again, it goes back into, the personality stuff and understanding the different personalities. So, nobody likes the driver. And the thing that's frustrating to everybody is the driver doesn't care if you like them or not. And so each of these 4 personalities, how do you get in flow? How do you keep in flow? So the amiable is the lowest frequency. That it's not the weakest. They're the ones, that have been my nemesis throughout my entire life. They're mean, nasty buggers. Anyways, so the amiable is very, very, very powerful. Very, very, very powerful. And but they have each of the different ones have different power. And so sure enough, Carol Koshan was an amiable, analytic personality. And so then you have the next higher frequency is so frequency is so I was first introduced to this through Frank Forte, and he was an Action Vision client, and he programmed nuclear subs in the Navy. So smart guy, super smart guy. And once I don't know, my energy in my coaching session wasn't as good as it normally was, or high as it normally was. He's like, "What's up with you today?" I said, my daughter Katrina, she's the middle child. My daughter Katrina, I'm telling you, that girl, jeepers, she's 15 years old. He says, "What's up with her?" I said, "I don't know. Like I can work 15-hour days, 18-hour days, and I have more energy at the end of the day. I am on fire. I walk into a room with her, and I'm telling you, she sucks the life right out of me. And I probably do the same to her, I'm guessing. And she doesn't even have to talk to me. I don't have to talk. He laughs. He says, "Oh, that's just because you guys are different frequencies." I'm like, "What does that mean?" And he explained a little bit, but then I got into the scientific frequencies. And so a radio wave is a frequency, and an X-ray is a frequency. And so there's not one that's better or worse. So a driver is not better because they're higher frequency than an amiable, but they are definitely different. Definitely different. Like I had an amiable once that said, a family member that said I was ruthless in business. Like I just laughed. I'm like, okay, I guess I could see that. What they didn't realize is that they're more ruthless than I am. They're an amiable. So, anyways, so being able to understand this, and then the expressive is the next higher, and the driver is the highest frequency. So, how do you get these all in flow? How do you get them all flowing together? And so I went ahead and we had, I don't know, 30% growth that year, but we could have had, 50 or 70 if they would have listened to me. But I was 26 years old. What is a 26-year-old? Well, they do know something. And I could share so many stories about this. And so understanding, like, this is where a lot of this stuff took hold. Like Sue Warner with PMI, she came in and she taught, and I'd been exposed to some of the personalities when I was in college, but I didn't understand it. And I was in management, sales management, and I was managing people, like the golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated. Nobody wants to be treated the way the driver does. They just don't. Like, just be honest with me, and I'll be honest with you. Is So I'm treating people the way I want to be treated. It's not working. And so when she brought this in, I'm like, dang, this is good stuff. She didn't bring this in. She just brought some personality stuff. But her test was a longer test and stuff. And I set out on a journey to go ahead and figure out how to identify somebody's personality. And it doesn't take 10, 15, 20 minutes. You got to do some long test. How do you identify somebody's personality in 17 seconds over the phone? So that was the part of the journey. And I learned so much from that. Sometime you guys could bring that up if you ever wanted to, on third party or bringing in, and how do you bring value, and if you have established relationships, how do you pierce through those if you're competing against them? A lot of lessons that were learned there. So in here, there's concern, and I've already told the operations team I have concerns, because Nora's and my goal, and Becky, Nora, and I goal is to get 5 Action Vision sales in a day. So, like, yeah, we can do that. Well, then you got to service them, and so that's like, once you get the flywheel going. So there was an ad that I put in the newspaper that drew in salespeople. And so in my sleep last night, I'm like, "Ooh, we need to get that. We need to get that in there." And so, Nora, anything else you got?
Um, a lot, but I'll contain myself, so it's all
Oh,
good.
don't contain yourself. Don't. Go.
I don't know. I think it's really cool with the story with Katrina there too. Like earlier in the morning, I had a guy that talked to me for a while, and it was really hard to to talk to the person because of the tone of his voice and just his energy he's giving off. And then it's like you talk to somebody else later in the day, and like the amount of conquering the world you can do is insane.
Right? And how some people just drain the inner living life out of you. And Nora, she's a nice person. And so she didn't. So I told her, I said, that's not the guy that talked to you. And she's like, actually, it is. Like a while. I'm like, you don't have to talk to him. Like, it's not being rude to go and say, hey, and she did say, I got to run. But could have she said that sooner and could have she gotten on? So if you can't make the sale, do them a favor and you a favor and move on. It's one of the hardest things to do, especially for women, because they don't want to they don't want to hurt the guy's feelings or the person's feelings, and so yeah, so good. What else you got?
That's good.
So one other thing she's got. What else?
I'm gonna go take that helicopter flight.
Okay, nice. So another thing she's got is, so I don't know, it was 1:30, 2 o'clock. I hadn't eaten breakfast yet, and so I'm like ready to go. So we're on Zoom, and she's like, hey, I need you to make a couple calls, I'm hungry. And I'm like, just kill the calls, Mark. Just pick up, just call. Who do you need me to make a call? So she'd been trying to get this guy to return. I just call the guy picks up, schedule an appointment. She just like rolls her eyes. This happens quite a bit. It's so frustrating to people, but it's frustrating in a good way. It's like, does he have some magical powers? um it comes with experience. So sometimes people, even at church, mock your age, and then pretend they're looking at children. What? I don't think so. Anyways, so then I called another person, scheduled, that appointment. What's fascinating to me is Nora picked up. She's like, afterwards, she's laughing and frustrated and excited and everything because there's two appointments scheduled. And she's like, they didn't even have an option. Like, it's not like, it's just command and control. I've got you on the phone. You're going to schedule an appointment. Like, this is just how it is. And on one of them, all I needed, that was the one for you, Luke, that you had referred.
Gotcha.
All I needed was that he had stress in his life. I said, hey, this Mark Boersma, Synergy Solutions. Like, yeah. And I'm like, Nora had referred, who came from Luke Miller, and mentioned something about stress in your life. You had a lot of stress. They thought I probably could help you. When do you want to, schedule? He's like, I'm really busy right now. Not a problem. When do you want to schedule? Just boom, boom, boom. It's just, there's confidence. And so when you have confidence, you fake it till you make it. Like you
So,
go ahead.
how do you get them to follow through then?
Well, Nora's going to call him up and say it again and say, she's going to call him up and she's going to do a third party sell of me. Like, Mark's got 9 businesses and this and this. She's going to sell me. So if I sell myself, it can come across, if I'm not really careful, and even if I am careful, sometimes it can come across as bragging. You don't want to do that, right? But when she says
Right.
something about me, it's not bragging. She knows how to sell me. She knows how to make me look really good, as does Becky. And subconsciously, when you have that male female energy going, oh my goodness, it's insane, because they're talking about a man and to a man, and that man says, dang, I wish I could get women to admire me like Becky or Nora admire Mark. Like, it's all subconscious, but they're like, man, I want to meet this guy. Maybe just to go ahead and figure out like what's his secrets to getting women to say such nice things about him. But then I do the same thing to them about how amazing they are. Like at pickleball yesterday, there was Maria, and gave her a booklet and stuff like that, and she had talked to Nora on the phone or something about something, and so it's just there's energy, and so when you get the energy and you get it flowing and momentum and being able to do it, so she's going to call him ahead of time and lift me up, tell me this and about this and this. And so when you're selling in teams, that can be not twice as productive. It can be like 20 times as productive. Does that make sense, Luke?
Mm-hmm.
Becky, what you got?
I got 10% of my stuff done yesterday.
So if you take a lesson from, Nora's book, I don't know, you just call me and get me on Zoom or something and just make me make phone calls for you. Appointments just magically appear. I don't know. So there's advantages to being women, and then there's disadvantages to being women. We might have a whole section just on that. So women have a distinct advantage on men in selling, especially when you're selling to men, but they have a distinct disadvantage too. And so it's learning how do you leverage that. So good work on getting the day before was at 4%. You're at 10% yesterday. The day before was 4%. Like, how does Mark remember this? Like, right? I mean, probably because of his age, his experience, his brain has fully developed where younger people's brain has not. So that's a 250% increase in work productivity going from 4% to 10%. So great work on that, Becky. Awesome. Kenny.
So I've got a client or a potential customer, and he's like a low, maybe a 2. And in the past, I've just, those are just some of the ones that we lose. But how do you flip that, or how do you switch that to where this is gonna work out? I don't want to spend some time and not get paid.
Right. Here you have the concept of the quantity of lead or the quality of the lead. And so if you have a lead that's an 8, you only need sales skills. You only need sales skills of a 2 or a system of a 2, sales skills or a system of a 2 to go ahead and convert them. If you go ahead and have a lead that's a 3, you need sales skills or a system that's a 7. I'm trying to find it here. And so your system, you might flip them into, here's an interesting relationship model. You guys might want to go ahead and go through this. You might get this file and you go through it and have me teach one of these lessons or couple of these principles a week or a day in this, because there's a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff in here about sales. And so you might flip them into your pre-sales. So right here, the same thing with an employee. You have the person that's an 8. You need teacher, system, skill sets of a 2. If you have somebody that's a 4, you need a system that's a 6. So you might just flip them back into the pre-sales here. And this is a great sales. This is like the sales slide of the year. So you flip them back into your pre-sales and you have your pre-sales handle it. And your pre-sales is going to use more marketing or other types of things like, where you're looking at stuff here to go through it. We wanted almost a different system. So pre-sales and sales are very different. Now, this here is this here you have building a bridge. I talked about 360, your BC 360 before, I believe. So the challenges, love, help. This is where someone's at, and this is where someone wants to be. And then you go ahead, know, like, trust, stories, mirroring, learning styles, modalities, personality masteries, natural laws, examination, solution, and implementation. Factors to stop or move to: yes, is pain, pleasure strong enough? Past histories, patterns, sense of urgency, decision. Are they decision maker? Ability to make the investment, trust. Like Nora's one of Nora's and Becky's, I think, sales, or Anita's sales. I think it's Anita, and Good Side Sales. He called me yesterday morning and he said, Mark, I woke up this morning. Last night I went to bed feeling great about the sale. They're about doing moving forward, but this morning it's like I pay you guys and I don't pay other people. I'm really struggling with it. I said, okay. And I just listened to him. And he's struggling with it. And I get that. And then that reminds me, Nora, we should reach out to him. I don't know if I should. Hey, just checking on you today. So he said my wife said to give you a call. So we won the wife over, and so he's struggling with it. Then you have Tom's marketing model. Wouldn't it be nice? Because first time conscious thought and then contact with the industry. And then you have the 7 magic phases to close a sale. So it's like football. You move them down into the end zone, into the red zone here. So how do you reduce your sales cycle time? That's the time you get from doing the sale to the closing sale. Help people, the student, realize that there is more that they could have in life and business that they embrace. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Napoleon Hill. Personality mastery, strategic strike, seed reproduction model, how to motivate people, story to create belief, 5 H's, 7 T's to stewardship. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here that you just start making as systems you can use to elevate people. You can use stories. So wouldn't it be nice? This is subconscious. Wouldn't it be nice? So this is subconscious here, because it's another Katrina story. You guys probably, well, maybe that's not the best idea. You guys could all call Katrina, but I don't know if you'd like that. Take her, because once she was, so she was like 15 years old. So she's the middle of 7 children. And she had her friend, Noelle, and they're 15-year-old girls, and they seem more interested in boys than their older sisters were. So I was talking to Noelle's dad, and I said, hey, it seems like the girls are more interested in boys than the older girls were. And he laughed and he says, yeah, I think I know why that is. I said, really? And he's like, yeah. I said, why is that? He said, because the younger ones are exposed to the older ones dating and stuff like that. It activates something literally in the brain. The dopamine hits and they say, I want to be like that. So they start being interested in boys earlier. And so like, Mark, can you take anything and everything in life and turn it into business? I can. So what you do is you go ahead and do that in business. You take, wouldn't it be nice? Tom Kuhn says this is the marketing model. It works on if you're buying $1 million, home, or if you're buying a piece of gum. So wouldn't it be nice to buy like Luke in the process of, wouldn't it be nice to buy a home? Okay. He went through this. It's subconscious. Then the next is because, then there's justification because Kenny bought a home. So again, this is subconscious going on. Phase 3 is the first time conscious thought, I could buy a home. Then phase 4 is contact with the industry. And then right before the red zone here, This is leads that are going to be an 9 or 10 right here. This is what everybody wants, this little slice. But most of the market is this. So what you do is, like, the average person buying their first piece of property is, I don't know, 30 years old or 32. So my story, me investing into real estate when I was 15 years old, that motivates other people to do it. And so what you do is you share stories. This is box 12. And the stories will help people evolve faster along. And this is for hiring, or this is for leads. So it's almost like, Kenny, like you have a fishery. Like if you're out fishing, so there's a fishery principle. Oh, there it is. The fishery principle. So we, as business, we want to have, the big fish, the ones where there's meat on the bones, where this is where we make the most money. But there's few and far between of this. And so there's little fish, medium-sized fish here, and then there's a whole bunch of little fish here. If you catch the little fish, most businesses throw them back in. They're like, this is too little, because there's a big difference between fishing and farming. And you make money on fishing, not farming. Unless you're good at farming, then you take that little fish and you put it into your own pond or your own fishery. You feed that fish. It costs you money in the short term, but it's a whole different way of thinking. And so all of this interconnects. Does that help, Kenny? You're on mute. Luke, what you got?
Yesterday I did 33%.
Nice.
How do you have? Okay, so I talked with someone that she wants to do her cabinets, but like in an email, I sent her an email, but she hasn't responded. How do you convey a sense of urgency or like move people along?
Asking the questions. So it's in the questions. Have you talked to her in the past?
Yes.
And how confident are you that you've asked the right questions? Are you using that information to get her to respond?
Maybe I like a 4 or a 5.
Have I reviewed over the questions?
Mm, I don't think so.
So the questions are really, really, really important. So you have 3 minutes, you have the intro, and then you have the questions, 3 minutes of questions. Level 1, get them interested in you. Level 2, this is just like dating. Level 2, determine if they qualify to work with you. 11 minutes. 13 minutes through questions, you start building a bridge between their biggest challenge and the solution, which is what this was. And so when you're leaving a message or you're voicemailing somebody, you're referencing this here. You're increasing the pain or the pleasure. So there's two things: avoiding pain or gaining pleasure. People will do more to avoid the pain to gain the pleasure. Make sense?
Yep, that makes sense.
Anything you got?
I was thinking it'd be nice if I could, like I say, I have a leads that's a 2. If I could, dish them to the website, and because this guy wants a roof, so I could give him a link to the roof department, and then that would kind of have more information on the product, what it does, give them a feeling of, wouldn't it be nice, or to make them believe it would be possible for them to have this.
Yes. And then the strategic strike. So when you take them down here, box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4. You hope you present a solution. You hope they go from a solution into the servicing. You make the sale. If they don't go ahead and do that, they go back up into box 5, implement strategic strike. So in box 5, what you're doing is you're doing the 10 touches. So based on different university studies, the average number of contacts it takes to make a sale is somewhere between 6 and 10 contacts. The average salesperson will make, based on those same research, will make somewhere between 1 and 2 contacts. So if it takes you 10 contacts to make a sale and you make 9, you've done 90% of the work, but you will make nothing because the sale won't happen. So most, like in golf, you never putt short. In sales, most salespeople are putting short. They're giving up too quickly. Now, somebody like me, I probably don't give up quick enough. I don't move on as fast as I should. That's my weakness. But here, you put them into an MCAT will go ahead and do an automated process. So you you do stories. So right here, here's a system that's interesting. So like here's, so there's testimonies and there's 7 steps in this process, and each of these steps have a testimony based on their personality. And so what Life GPS is doing is it's working to get into a system where it will go ahead and do the selling for you. It will sell based on their personality. So each of these testimonies are written specifically for that personality. And here's a driver personality, shortened to the point. In step 2, if I go ahead and in step 2, each of these are based on steps. And if I go analytic, this is going to be longer. In step 3, if I go ahead and look at an amiable, and you can tell based on the pictures which personality they are to a large degree. And so and this is written for the amiable. Between these 7 steps here, they each have 4 testimonials, one for each of them, each of the personality. So you could set up an automated process if they have email, which most of them are going to have email. So you go ahead and you can set up an automated process where you get one touch, another touch, another touch, another touch, another touch. And if you know their personality, you can build it out. Now it's 4 times as much work to go ahead and build it out that way. And the knowledge is substantial. The Action Vision program and the EVAs can help with that. Makes sense?
Yeah, I need to get my in-person interview or conversation experience. I need to get that on the website or somewhere to where I can point people to when I don't meet them.
Right. And you might be able to incorporate AI. Becky's going through and Rosanna's going through a week of training in AI. And so there might be some things that you could do in that would leverage that technology as well to be able to do that. So yeah, some really exciting times. Anybody else have anything else? Again, where are you guys going to make money?
Developing people.
So ideally you have 2 people that are joining, and the sooner you get them to join the program, the sooner you get them to join the program, because right now you're already 5 weeks ahead of them. I mean, it's a half an hour, so it's 2.5 hours a week of training. And so, it could go ahead and so it'd take for 4 weeks, for a month, it would take, 10 hours to catch up for a month. I mean, so it's fast, but it's not just the training. Like you can go through, these 5 days, I think, I don't know, Becky or somebody's working on, maybe Adam or David, working on coming up with quizzes for each of these. So a quiz or a test for each week to make sure, are you retaining the things that you need to, to retain. So it's neat stuff that's going on. Anybody else have anything else?
Nope.
All right, you guys are awesome. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.